We will end the sanctuary cities.
Hundreds of cities have similar sanctuary policies.
Sanctuary cities.
Sanctuaries. Sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities.
Everybody has turned a blind eye to it. It is about time something gets done. The costs are gargantuan.
But what is a sanctuary city?
It generally means a city that refuses to cooperate with the federal government on requests to hold people in jail, undocumented immigrants in jail, without a warrant.
From San Francisco to New York, they are set to lose a ton of money, an obscene amount of money. He's ordering construction of the wall, that we know, and he's threatening to cut the sanctuary cities' funding if they don't comply with federal law. Now,
good morning. I'm very happy to be joined by Mayor Ed Lee, my Chief Assistant City Attorney Jesse Smith, Chief Deputy City Attorney Ron Flynn. Also here are Deputy City Attorneys Yvonne Murray, Molly Lee, Sarah Eisenberg, Christine Van Aken, Matthew Lee, and Neha Gupta.
Probable cause.
As I learned more about sanctuary cities, I found out that my own city, Northampton, Massachusetts, is one. But it's hard to tell exactly how many sanctuary cities there are in the United States. The term sanctuary city has no specific universal legal definition. How much the policies enforced can also vary across the U.S.
Yeah, the term sanctuary city gets used a lot, sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way, or as a pejorative, or as a political weapon. What it means primarily to me as the mayor of Northampton is the policies that we have adopted, partially through resolutions by the City Council, but also by an executive order that I issued in 2012 that really talks about the way that we, as a local municipality, will deal with people who are immigrants and who potentially may be undocumented. There's an issue with our federal immigration enforcement whereby administrative detainers can be issued. It's basically somebody from the ICE, which is the federal enforcement, contacting a municipality, contacting a county jail, and basically saying, we want you to hold this person. We want you to detain this person.
In his first 100 days, President-elect Trump has pledged to cancel all federal funding to these sanctuary cities. As Northampton Mayor David Narkowitz described, this could have significant effects on the city of Northampton.
We receive about a little over $3 million a year in federal funding.
All of these attorneys have been working exhaustively on the action we filed this morning. I'm announcing today that I filed a federal lawsuit against President Donald Trump and his administration for his executive order attempting to deprive San Francisco and other cities of billions of dollars in federal funding because of our sanctuary status. The President's executive order is not only unconstitutional, it's un-American. That's why we must stand up and oppose it.
Justice for all! Justice for all! Justice for all! Yes, we can!
We must be guardians of our democracy that President Obama spoke of in his farewell address.
Very important to understand this, because I think in the terminology, sanctuary cities, all that, we've lost the underlying meaning. And if you want to know what it means, ask a police chief or a police commissioner. Our commissioner, Jimmy O'Neill, stood with me yesterday and said, look, NYPD has spent decades building a relationship with communities, including immigrant communities. This is the kind of thing that will destroy that progress and make it impossible for the police to keep cities safe. Why? New York City has 500,000 undocumented people. We want them to come forward and work with the police if they see a crime, if they're a victim of the crime, if they believe by talking to a police officer they will get deported and be torn apart from their family. They're not going to work with police. And by the way, that policy in New York City of respecting that confidentiality goes back to the administration of Rudy Giuliani and Ed Koch.
That makes perfect sense for the law-abiding undocumented immigrants. But there are some sanctuary cities, and maybe New York City is one of them, that says that they will not work with ICE agents, even for people in their jails, even for people suspected of being undocumented immigrants in their jails. Why not hand over the people who have committed these crimes to ICE agents?
Another misunderstanding about so-called sanctuary cities. Here's a list right here of 170 offenses that if someone is undocumented, they commit this offense, we will work with ICE and they will be deported.
But are those low-level offenses or high-level?
No, these are serious crimes. These are serious crimes, violent crimes, even possession of a weapon, for example, of any kind. 170 offenses that if an undocumented person commits, that triggers, by New York City law, cooperation with ICE for deportation.
How about theft?
Well, here's the example. Theft, violent, any theft involving a weapon, for example.
Just a regular low-level crime.
There are very low-level crimes. For example, small amounts of marijuana possession.
Yeah.
Going through a stoplight that doesn't cause any damage to anyone. Those are areas where we will not work to see someone deported. Why? Because these are members of a family in our community. Say it's the breadwinner in that family. So you deport the breadwinner and the rest of the family, including the children, are left without anyone. You tear a family apart. That's not good government. That's not, in my view, moral. This is where the whole thing gets so confused, Allison. This is about human beings, families that came here. I believe people should follow the law. I don't think people should violate our borders. But let's face it, this has been for hundreds of years a challenge for this country, right? You've got people here now. And what are we going to do with 11 or 12 million people in our midst? If someone's truly a violent criminal, absolutely they should be deported. If they're a law-abiding person or they've done the very minor things that even people we know might have done, we can't see them deported and families torn apart.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like New York City gets $8.8 billion in federal funds, and that there are something like $156 million at stake here if President Trump decides to pull federal funds from New York City. What would that do to you in New York City?
Well, here's the amazing thing about the executive order. First of all, we think it's very susceptible to legal challenge. There's some real contradictions and vagueness.
They can't pull that money from...
Well, again, if they make an attempt to pull that money, it would be from the NYPD. It would be from security funding for the NYPD to fight terrorism and to protect foreign leaders who come to New York City to go to the UN. If an attempt is made to do that, we will go to court immediately for an injunction to stop it. And we believe the executive order is vague and in some ways contradictory. By the way, it's quite clear the Supreme Court under Justice Roberts in 2012 came with a decision that said it is inappropriate for the federal government to attempt to take funding broad brush away from a state or city because of broad policy matters.
We have 52 Liberians, convicted criminals that are here illegally. The statute says you shall. There's no option. Why are you not going? My guess is you'd speed it up a whole lot. If it was up to me, yeah, you'd say no more visas, no more people coming to the United States, and that $125 million in aid, that check's going to sit here until you take these 52 people back. So you know what? Your hand will be strengthened in your negotiations around the world if you do it every once in a while. That's what this is law. This is not some Jason Chaffetz theory. This is the law, and I don't see you doing it at all in any country.
I agree with you, sir, that the fact that we have that provision of the law and that there is the real possibility for any recalcitrant country to be facing visa sanctions or other sanctions is a very, very powerful tool.
Use it. Use it. Pull the trigger.
What we're seeing is, to take the case of Liberia, they do take this seriously, and they do understand that if we aren't seeing steady and increasing action on this issue...
Why shouldn't they take them all? Steady, increasing, they're working with us. They got criminal aliens, take them back. It's 52 people. But you know what? When one of those 52 people commits a crime, a rape, a murder, a DUI, that's on you. Because they shouldn't be here in the United States of America. You cannot look those people in the eye, Americans who pay their taxes, who work here, who are citizens, and you're so worried about playing nice instead of implementing the law. These people are committing more crimes. I just got through listing all these people. Everything from murder to DUIs to sexual abuse. Get rid of them.
Our goal is completely the same as yours. We want these people out of the country.
Then get them out. You have every tool at your disposal. You got $125 million in aid. You've got the law on your side that says we do not need to give anybody else a visa. And you just tell them, somebody applies for the visa, we're not accepting those until you accept these 52 people.